Hey, everybody, welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. Everything sports, everything Buffalo, being brought to you by us. I am KJ Zelzinski, joined with Deshaun Francois, Colton Pankowitz, Justin Cjack. It is Victory Monday. Oh, my goodness, it feels so good.
Bills win.
Exactly. We talked about this with Matt Bove. I feel like, again, the atmosphere in Buffalo changes based off of whether or not the Buffalo Bills win or lose. It's not going to stop. I am so excited to get the show on the roll. So before we do, again, remember to check out our website at buffalosportsinsider.com to see all of our content. Check out our social media, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them. Go check it out and stay up to date on everything sports, everything Buffalo. Also, remember to drop any questions that you have for us in the chat. We'll be checking that out, and our lovely TDs will be making sure that that gets onto the stream for us. So we did want to start off today, deviating a little bit away from sports, but BSI was invited to the BBA Hall of Fame. BBA, if you don't know, is the Buffalo Broadcasters Association that helps put on the show. You can see their logos all over the room here, right? Just a little bit. So we had the pleasure of being able to go to this event, the 2023 Hall of Fame. Some great inductees there as well. Some names you know, some names you might not. Jeff Galore from CBS. Maria Gennaro from WGRZ, Janet Snyder from WKSE as well. Very cool. I remember Janet Snyder. I think was one of the names that I definitely knew on the list.
Growing up, Christmas bash every year.
Exactly. And
Speech was very fun to listen to, by the way.
I agree. We also did have Jerry Rio, former disc jockey for radio and programmer, Kurt Murphy, WIVB. We also had Tim Wanger, and I think Tim Wanger was WBEN, WGR, and WWKB. Very popular in the crowd. There was a lot of whoops and hollers from when he got up. Penny Wolfgang, Judge Penny Wolfgang, retired Supreme Court Justice, and Joe Romanowski, co-founder of Indigo Productions. So again, a lot of people to be talked about. Very cool to get to meet them all, though, and see what they've done for Buffalo. I think, again, there's just so much history with Buffalo broadcasting. So it's cool to have them up on the stage and be able to see what they've done. Now, I mean, as for you guys, I think I really enjoyed my time being there. It was cool to be able to sit down and talk to Tony Farina, a very renowned BBA Hall of Famer, investigative journalist. You can talk a little bit about it, Colton, because I know you know him from the area.
So I knew the name was familiar before. So when he sat down and said it, I kind of clicked to me. A little before my time, obviously,
right?
But I know he broke some big stories on like school bus safety and just kind of the safety of Western New Yorkers in general. And he, I know, got awarded not just locally but nationally as well. A lot of recognition, and it was just cool kind of picking his brain for 40 minutes. It was just us and him, and it was just kind of like, you know, what makes you, like, what made you successful? And it was just a normal conversation you had with a guy who was the best of the best in the area for a long time.
Exactly. By some stroke of luck, too, because we were at our own table and found his way over there in open seat. So
yeah, I would say it was nice talking with him because he actually did care about us, and he asked like each of us what our role is on the show. KJ was sitting next to him the most, so I didn't have to talk to him much.
That's true.
But I was able to be like another co-producer in that area as well because I was just helping KJ on the show. Like, yeah, this is our guys doing this as well, and I was like, it's kind of cool being able to talk with him.
Yeah, exactly.
But to speak more on a little bit how I enjoyed that experience, when we drove up to the Manor, I enjoyed just the way that it looked first.
Oh, my goodness,
like, I've never been in the Manor before, so that was
Yeah.
something that I enjoyed, having that experience. The back looked very nice. Me and Colton sat out there in the back for a little bit, enjoyed some drink. You know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, it was very nice. I enjoyed my time. The food was very good. We got served first, so we were excited about that.
We
Sat
did
all
get
the way in the
served
back,
first,
but we got
exactly.
served first.
We were really looking for seconds.
Yeah.
A little bit of
So
special
we
treatment.
did
Can't
enjoy
confirm.
that time
What
at
about
the BBA.
that big BBA ice sculpture though? That was pretty.
That
cool.
was pretty crazy
Yeah, it
too.
was
And
very cool.
unfortunately, we don't have the picture on broadcast to show you. I think we got some of ourselves.
Yeah, but you could check out our socials if you want to see that. We'll find that picture and get that for you guys.
Exactly. So again, very special thank you to the BBA for hosting that event and inviting us we had a great time and can't wait for the next one. We do want to move into the Buffalo Bills. Your Buffalo Bills destroyed the Washington Commanders.
And somehow it wasn't even the biggest blowout of the week.
Yeah, exactly. It was so
We
funny.
see them next
in the
week.
division.
Exactly. You're sitting there and you're like, wow, like the Bills are making a statement, and then you're looking at your phone and you're like, okay, it's like it's
63 now.
oh, it's 35. Oh, it's 50. Oh, it's 70 now. Oh, okay.
I mean, we all kind of went in saying, it's not a trap game, but it's not going to be a blowout. Well, it was a blowout. And the craziest part is that we go into next week less optimistic somehow, playing the Dolphins, because the Dolphins put up the second most points in NFL history.
I think it's because of how offensive a game that they just had compared to the defensive game that we just had. I think that's what's making everyone so nervous. Like, are we going to be able to play at that high of a level that we just had against the Commanders that everyone saw as a win in the first place? So now we're going to a more competitive team in the Dolphins. I hope that we can.
And see, all of that and more will be answered this Wednesday. So make sure to tune in again, same time. We're going to be previewing the Dolphins-Bills game, which is at 1 p.m., which is so surprising. I mean, just flex that, man. Make that a night game. But anyways, that's just me. But for this Commanders game, let's break it down a little bit. I mean, for those who didn't get to see the game, like I want to start out by talking exactly. Deshaun who was working. Like there were so many components of the game that led to his victory, and I think one of the biggest pieces was Terrell Bernard, TB Nardog, just
he's been having a great season.
Thank you. I've been having a great season, which is really funny. Again, we'll recap this a little bit because Terrell Bernard wasn't even there for the preseason. Out with a hamstring injury, Tyrell Dodson played himself out of the role, and then he's awarded the starting job. And I mean, you had some other stuff there too, where they brought in Christian Kirksey, and you're like, okay, maybe they'll give him some competition. He retires this past week. Yes, the second veteran to retire. But man, so explosive in this game. I mean, again, filling in for Tremaine Edmonds, who went to Chicago, who hasn't been doing great this past game against the Chiefs. And again, it is the Chiefs, but 8 tackles, 4 solo, 0 tackles for loss, no takeaways. Like, again, compared to Terrell Bernard, put up 2 sacks,
yes, sir,
1 interception, and a fumble recovery. That, my friends, has not been done since 2007. Brian Urlacher, James Harrison, the other two to ever do it.
Isn't it crazy, like the difference in those 2 players versus Bernard's build?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Brian Urlacher was a
that's
huge
just
guy.
the trend of the way the NFL shit.
No,
exactly. But I mean, still, like, exactly. See those dudes that, it's crazy. But even then, again, Terrell Bernard, 7 tackles, 5 solo, 2 tackles for losses. This guy was just all over the field, and again, huge reason why they won today. And again, big shoes to fill with Tremaine Edmonds, and a lot of nervousness because week 1 he wasn't fantastic, but these past 2 weeks he is.
So could we say that week 1 is just a testament to him not playing the entire summer and he was just getting the king cell, just ironing things, figuring it out? Because him and Matt Milano have been very good 1-2 pair. Like, I would say that either one of them from the beginning of the season has had an interception in each game. So I want to see if that streak will last out as long as the season goes on. So
I would 100%.
that's what I've been paying attention to.
I think he needed to settle in a little bit, and he's been doing great.
I think a lot of Bills fans during Tremaine Edmonds' tenure were talking about, okay, we want to see some splash plays out of Tremaine Edmonds, but now you have 2 guys who make splash plays, and that can prove to be scary for this defense.
Exactly.
So keeping on with the defense, because we like our secondary, let's talk about the guys up front. We had Daquan Jones. I think that he was the real leader of that defense right there, even though that it might not have showed in how many tackles everybody had. He had 1 tackle, 1.5 sacks, but the pressure that he was putting on the inside made it a lot. It made it so much easier for Greg Rousseau to come off the edge, Ed Oliver to do his job. It's like everybody was able to get inside and pressure the quarterback and make it so much harder for the defense to not have an easy job.
And I want to add too, not just Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver as well, but they it wasn't like blitz plays or anything that are getting these pressures. It's just 4-man rushes. That's
one thing I want to touch on real quick. Is a really cool stat I saw on Twitter today. The Bills had the highest sack percentage in the NFL with the lowest blitz.
Which is crazy because it feels like they've blitzed so much more this season.
Right.
It's a testament to the Leslie Frazier, bend don't break mindset. But I want to talk about 9 sacks. I know we came into this year and we were talking about, pressures are one thing, but you have to get to the quarterback. You have to get him to the ground. 9 sacks is the 3rd most sacks in franchise history in a single game. behind the 1964, 2011, and actually 2022 against the Jets. I think it was like week 17, 18, or whatever it ended up being. But it was a huge day. Leonard Floyd ate again. He is on pace right now for over 19 sacks.
Yeah. And now Leonard Floyd's an interesting conversation too, because a lot of Bills fans will forget that
Von
Miller's
Miller's
supposed to come back in a couple weeks. I mean, he's going to be missing the
Yeah.
Dolphins games and then be back for the Jacksonville game. But again, like,
Here's my 2 cents on that.
yes.
You got two people. I'm an LA Rams fan. They're both coming from the LA Rams. They've already played together. So seeing them have that 1-2 punch when he comes back, that's going to be something that's comfortable for them. But as a Bills fan, right now, I think that's going to be even better in adding that to their defense because of how good Greg Rousseau has been.
Yes.
AJ
Oh, man.
Epinesa, he's been performing, rushing off the edge as well. He had a pick 6 last week. So this is something that's going to be good for the Bills when they bring in Von Miller, and Leonard Floyd's been so confident and he's just been performing for them. He's not going to feel any way that Von Miller is going to come in and have some reps because he's been doing what he needs to do to show that he could play on the field.
Yeah, and on the opposite side of the ball, the offensive line had their best outing of the season. 0 sacks let up, and I think I can officially mail my apology to Spencer Brown.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we already have
Yeah.
that. I wish we had posted up on the wall. We can have a Terrell Bernard form and then a
Spencer Brown form.
Spencer Brown
But
form right next to it.
It has been a complete turnaround.
Oh,
Week
absolutely.
1, I think, what was it, 7 sacks. Week 2, 5 or what was it? Yeah, it was 2 against Washington
Yeah.
or Las Vegas. I apologize, and 0 against Washington this week against arguably the best front forward they faced.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say too. Is don't forget that they're facing Max Crosby. Chandler Jones was supposed to be in there, and he's doing a lot of personal stuff right now.
The Jets,
And then I mean, you have Chase Young and Montes.
Jonathan Allen,
Oh, man, like-
Darren Payne.
Exactly.
We
You've
can
seen
give
that.
our
You've seen that,
flowers
right?
to Spencer Brown real quick, but I also want to give flowers to Deion Dawkins, who's been really good
Yes.
since the Jets game.
Well,
And here's the
on
thing
Sunday.
about Deion Dawkins: he was on an island most of the time to Chase Young, and he did pretty well. And not only that, he's good in pass protection, but I've noticed improved run effort from Deion Dawkins this season.
So this might be crazy. This might be this is definitely a hot
Uh-oh.
take.
Uh-oh.
I think not only has Osiris Torrance been the best offensive lineman the Bills have had,
Okay.
he's been a top 3 player for the team. all
Okay.
year.
Would you like to know something crazy?
Huh.
Osiris Torrance is the only player who played 100% of snaps against the Commanders.
Really?
Yep.
That makes
All
sense.
right.
So the
you know
fact
what?
that
I
you
love
brought
it.
that up, it's like
Yeah.
I feel like they understand that as well. He's been such a great addition to the team that they keep him on the field. They don't even realize that. They need him on the field doing what he has to do so our guy James Cook can put up the stats that he can so Justin's dream can come true.
Absolutely. Again, I think it just, oh man, it's really cool. I know we talked about earlier with our superlatives and all that about like Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, who would get that like offensive rookie of the year for us. Right now, for me, it's Sidewell. I know Dalton Kincaid's another conversation. And I mean, check out our website if you want to see Ronan talk more about it, because I think he talks a lot about how he's being used and transforming the offense a little bit. But right now, I think Sidewell has just been so unstoppable and doing his role well. He's just a people-moving machine. I say it every time. I love it so much. So again, O-line performed. The trenches on both sides were just fantastic. We have a question from the audience that we're going to take right now that we will see from Thomas Bailey. What player would you say had the best performance in your opinion? No question for me, it was Terrell Bernard. I gotta, again, give him his flowers. Historic performance. It's Terrell Bernard.
I think I'm going to have to go Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, double down.
I
Leonard
think I'm going to go
Floyd?
Leonard Floyd.
Sure. Yeah,
I can't not say Bernard just because we haven't seen it. Like Tremaine Edmonds was such an athlete and he was a
Right.
freak of nature,
Yeah.
but it seemed like Bernard has progressed so much and not only making the plays that you don't expect him to, but the plays that he has to.
Well, exactly. See, I'm glad you said something about expecting, because it's like, for me, I didn't expect Terrell Bernard to be this good. If you say something about like Leonard Floyd, like
Mhm.
I could argue like, yeah, I thought he was going to be like this good, like being this performer. But I think with Terrell Bernard, I thought it was going to be the opposite, that he was going to crumble under the pressure. And like these past 2 weeks, he's just been.
I would say with Leonard Floyd,
nonstop.
Leonard Floyd's been producing from the beginning of the season. It started off with the Aaron Rodgers injury. So that's where we go from there. And I don't think that he's been letting up since. So he's just making sure that he can get on the field when Von Miller comes back. Like I keep on testamenting to that, because I know that that's something that's probably sitting in the back of his head while he's on the field. Like at
Right.
any given moment, they could just say 40, you're in. And
Right.
next thing you know, I'm just on the sideline again.
But I think even then with Leonard Floyd, you have so much depth. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like Von Miller.
Even the
subs out
interior,
there.
I mean, 24 was inactive.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
exactly.
Well,
like,
okay.
that's crazy.
And
Jordan Phillips gets the pressure on the Terrell Bernard.
I think we got to transition from the trenches as much as I love to give them their flowers, but our veteran
Yes,
defensive backs are
thank
really
you.
good. That's the best game Trey White has played in 2 years.
Yeah, man. Ooh, and an interception. Like again, you really have to think about it when it comes to terms with like Trey White and not even just Trey White, Micah Hyde
Micah
as well,
Hyde.
getting hit his interception. And with both of them having these like long-term injuries on the road to recovery, and then for them just to get these interceptions, just like makes me so it makes me so happy.
Well,
because it's
for the
good to
longest
see.
time, it didn't make sense to me why the Bills were so conservative, just because
Right.
they had that safety valve and Poyer and Hyde and Trey White. So it's
Mhm.
like you can be more aggressive, you can make mistakes because you have them. But the first 2 games, I didn't feel like they had
No.
them. But this week, Hyde played great.
Mhm.
White played great. They both had picks. And then I thought Poyer played his best game as well. He didn't
Yeah.
have the most tackles, didn't show up on the stats, but he came downhill hard. He came down
Mhm.
fast, and he looked very confident, and the group around him looked confident. Maybe not just because of it, but in part of it.
And Terry Johnson. He's just always there.
Yeah, TJ. I love TJ, the best nickel in the league. He's so good.
And I know we're talking about the veterans in the backfield, but let's talk about Christian Benford as well. Another person who played majority of the game, and I think that's what makes it a lot easier on Tre'Davious White and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, because Christian Benford's able to solidify his part of the field. It's making their job that much easier, where they don't have to worry about the other people that aren't covering their side or making sure that their assignment is covered.
Yeah, it's interesting too.
It's a
I
good
mean,
receiving core, too.
I was just about to comment on that. I was about to say, like, again, you have Scary Terry, you have Jahan Dotson, and Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel taking 2 deep shots and from in the bucket from Sam Howell, who
Through
Sam-
4 picks.
Sam Howell, he was
Yeah.
running
That-
though.
We
Yeah,
actually
like
derailed the Sam Howell hype train.
yeah, it really did. I mean, this week was just a stinker.
You can tell his confidence was shot. And actually, at the end of the game, I felt bad because they were still getting after him in like the late 4th quarter.
Exactly. It was rough. Again, I think it was just so much panic from Sam Howell, and again, that comes from pressure from the D line, and again, everything was clicking. I did want to talk about the last component of the Buffalo Bills' amazing day would probably be their offense, and they had.
They
again,
did
we
have
always talk-
37 points, so
That
had
is
to
true.
get it
See,
somehow.
and again, not all those points from the offense.
That's true.
But they have just so many ways to beat you down, starting with James Cook.
Man, I got to take my victory lap with James Cook. I mean,
Yeah, true.
this narrative is really
Yeah.
coming true. And if there's one way that I can title this segment, life is good for James Cook right now.
Absolutely.
24th birthday today. Happy birthday,
Happy
James Cook.
birthday. And congratulations.
birthday, James.
He became a girl dad, too. He's
Oh,
he's
girl,
a
man.
girl dad.
Yeah.
So
As
congratulations.
a child. Also, how about this? Second in the league in rushing yards.
Yes, sir.
Right behind Christian McCaffrey. Here's some more stats I'll toss at you.
Man.
He's tied for second in the league for yards per carry at 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy's ridiculous. Two yards away from back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. Goes over 100 for the second game in a row with all-purpose. I mean, the fluidity, the elusiveness, the vision, the burst, it always pops out. And it just adds another element to this Bills offense that they didn't previously have before. Devin Singletary was fine, but there was
No,
only
He was fine, but
Exactly.
there's a stat I found, and it's he's on pace for 14, a little under 1,500 yards.
He's on fit. No, I got it right here. 306 touches, 1,893 total yards, 0 touchdowns.
Ooh.
0 touchdowns.
While
Okay.
rushing yards, he's on pace.
Oh, for 14, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Let's make
He's on pace for the most since O.J. Simpson's 1976 season, where he put up 1,503 rushing yards. And if you want to talk about the extra game he has, it's the most since Travis Henry's 2002 year, where he put up 14, 15, whatever it was.
Right.
So those are insane numbers from,
really
from an
is.
offense that 2 years ago was known as like we're not going to run the ball.
Right.
And if we
It's a
got
pass
to
offense.
Josh
under Brian Dable, it was just all pass. And again, we just didn't have the weapons there at the time. But I love the discourse around James Cook because he is just a silky smooth runner too.
I
He
still
just
can't believe people were saying he wasn't elusive. Like,
First-
where did that
exactly,
narrative even come
exactly.
from?
First
He's a
time
cook.
I think I watched Jimbo run. I was watching the game with my dad, and he's like, "Is he running like in slow motion? Because that's just how he makes it look. It's like he just like so effortlessly just like breaks through.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a fun runner to watch. So again, I think You called it. I want to see him have a fantastic season. These past 2 games have been proving it. And again, I think always in the back of my mind, when I think of bad weather games, it's always, okay, we need the run game to be successful here. And yesterday I was a little bit worried about it. And that's when James Cook came into play. And I think even though the weather was kind of a non-factor at the end of it, he really proved that, again, when we need him to show up, he will show up.
I also want to shout out, and obviously they didn't play as big a role, but Latavius Murray and Damon Harris have both served their role well. The Bills have been looking for that physical back, and I think you see that in the red zone yesterday, 3rd and 2. Allen dumps it off to Murray. There's a defender waiting for him, but because of his big body stature, he's able to fight for the first time.
It's so much versatility in the running back room, and I think that's what makes it fantastic.
I think outside of that, talking about Josh Allen in the rushing, the rushing performance, I think week 1, obviously he was. In week 2, he was very hesitant to run the ball.
The leap over.
Which, I mean, even when he is, he's still jumping people. He's still putting his shoulder down, which I'm sure everybody hates to see. But I thought he did a good job of this week.
And it was smart.
Right. It was smart run. He finished under 50 yards, but between 40 and 50. But it looked smooth. It looked right. It didn't look like, he had something open and was right. It looked like he ran when he had to. And he made plays when he had to, but he didn't go out of his way in ways that we don't want to see him get hurt. We don't want to see anything freakish happen.
And even the pick that he threw too was a deep shot. Ended up being just like a punt, anyways. Those ones I don't get too mad about. Exactly.
But up big, that's not going to kill him like it did in the Jets game.
Yeah. So again, so many different factors of the Bills' offense, and I mean, a different conversation could be Gabe Davis too, has been doing fantastic.
My guy, Stephon
Diggs,
Diggs, 8 receptions, 111 yards, no touchdowns to show for it. But at the end of the day, what we need to see is just the ball in Diggs' hand, because that's showing that the main guy is getting in what he needs to get in.
Absolutely. And shout out Bills Mafia too. Again, that was basically a home game at FedEx Field. I mean, they just showed up big. Anytime there was a penalty on the Commanders, you hear boo, or on the Bills rather, you hear boos. And I'm like, I think we're at FedEx, right? So it was great from them, great all around for the Bills, and I think again making a statement. Next week we are going to be covering, this Wednesday rather, we're going to be covering the Dolphins preview. So excited for that because
I think things are going to get intense.
Heavyweight brawl, so going to be fantastic there. Let's move on to our next set.
Right before we break on to our next one, I think we have a question from the fans. So can we get that in here real quick, please?
From Ronan McDonald, do you guys think that the Bills can punch in TDs consistently next week? We settled for a lot of field goals yesterday and can't do that next week. So I think that comes down to some of the play calling. I think, again, we were talking before stream about the, the third down screen?
Third and 12.
Yeah,
Third and 12 screen
Screen.
digs, like,
Hair on it.
and a bunch of second and long runs, some head scratchers, I think. So I think we can find ways to get past the Dolphins defense that isn't it's without Jalen Ramsey too. And I think again Xavier Howard's all right. He's not terrible, but again, trying to find ways to break through that, I think we can do it.
Right, which is crazy because Xavier Howard 2 years ago, 3 years ago was a top 5 corner in the game.
Exactly.
But I don't think that field goals are an issue. The Bills lost week 1 because actually they didn't take field goals. Josh Allen forced the ball when he didn't have to, and points were left on the board. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
I don't think you're mad about field goals. I think if there's a lack of touchdown and only field goals, you're going to lose the game against the high-powered offense in Miami who put up 70 without Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
So I don't think field goals are the nemesis. I think turnovers are, and I think sacks and early downs. We talked about all this. I just think that they have to score. Whether it's field goals, touchdowns, almost every drive is going to have to
Exactly.
be for
You have to
beat
capitalize.
to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I would
You're
agree.
gonna have to match their productivity, and that's gonna be a tough task. But I mean, Josh Allen has a Josh Allen game, especially in Buffalo. And I think that's another thing is I think he'll be our best red zone weapon next week. We haven't seen it yet this season. I think it'll prove because the Dolphins always had problems containing Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for it. It's going to be
I'm very excited for it.
huge
as well.
game to watch. So we wanted to talk about as well. UB football did lose this week to the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 38-5. And now, my friends, they are 0-4.
Sadly. Very sadly.
The Buffalo State Bengals have
And
a
it
better
is sad.
record than them still.
Hey, Buff State was on a bye week this
0-4,
week.
That's on you. I'm not sad for anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For
Buff
those
State
who,
was on a bye week this week, so nothing to say from them.
exactly. Fair enough. So
But continue on UB.
Louisiana went up 10-0 at half, and then eventually 17-0 after the half. So huge deficit there. Third quarter, the Bulls start coming back a little bit, show signs of life. fourth quarter becomes a pretty big shootout, and it's kind of going back and forth. Again, they bring it back up to 38 to 45, but 2 minutes left on the clock, and there's just no time for them to capitalize on it. So again, it's not like last week with Liberty where it was just kind of a roll, but again, this is their worst start underneath head coach Linguist, and they are 0-4 for the first time since 2005. Again, this has just been a disappointing start to the season
Very
for
unfortunate.
Bulls fans, and I think again next week we can take a look at Akron. They face Akron, who isn't the greatest of teams. So again, if they kind of show this momentum, they keep with it, they have a good chance of getting their first win of the season. And I think this is when conference play starts. So this is really important for them. So again, it just a weird start.
You got to think that how damaging this is to their culture. I mean,
Very uncharacteristic.
Yes.
Well, I they're coming into games flat. The last two games, I think they have
Yeah.
a combined like 7 or 14
Exactly.
points
0 points
in the first half.
is-
Like
yeah.
that is a very scary sight to see. If you're coming out flat offensively and they're more known offensively than defensively, that's a very bad recipe for success.
I agree.
And I don't see. I mean, if they come out and don't score again in the first or second quarter, I don't see them winning against Akron. But maybe they'll pull something out of their hat.
Exactly. There's a miracle in there somewhere, sure.
That's my
But
question, head coach. That's all I got to say.
yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people calling for Mo's job, and I don't know. It's a toss-up right now. But aside from UB, one last game that we wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
The Buffalo Sabres are back.
Hockey
is back. I'm so excited. I'm a huge hockey fan. So they played the Washington Capitals in DC yesterday, beat them in a shootout 4-3. Again, really, really fun game to watch. I know they were down 2-0 going into the second, or they were down 2-0 at some point in the second.
Yeah.
Eventually
Late second.
ended up eventually ended up tying it up, even getting the lead 3-2, and then they scored late, make it 3-3, goes into overtime, winning the shootout. Really cool stuff. Let's highlight some of these players because I think the first guy I really want to talk about was Zach Benson.
Yeah.
Zach Benson,
First
who we
round
picked
pick.
up
Yeah,
exactly first
I have
round.
never seen an 18-year-old outside of your Eichel.
Just in general, like you haven't seen
yeah,
any
yeah,
18
no, this is the first time.
Right,
Right,
right.
Eichel and David that have been that comfortable with the puck
Mhm.
in the offense, and you have to keep in mind. I mean, he's what 5'8", not even.
Small guy.
Like
Mhm.
he doesn't get, some people get so mentally fast or they speed themselves up and move the puck too early and make the wrong play. He didn't do that. And I know it's just
Exactly.
one game, but it was his first game. And when we see him in a year or two, if we see him, that is, I just, the confidence is incredible.
Exactly. We always say there's only two positions on offense, and that is offense with the puck and offense without the puck. With the puck, Benson is super comfortable. Without the puck, he's aggressive. And that's just really fun to see. I think when we talk about the Buffalo Sabres right now, their repertoire and their forwards are just so extensive, which is crazy to say because it's like
And
I
they're
haven't been
drafting
able to say
smaller
that.
guys recently, but I mean,
Exactly.
the guys that they already have established, I mean, you've got a range of sizes. And as far as Benson goes, you have to start thinking, will they bring him up for those 9 games without burning that entry-level contract that first
Right.
year? I think they should because that's valuable playing time. He doesn't have to
absolutely.
play a massive role, he can play in the third line or whatever. But I mean, what we saw in this first game is really impressive.
Yeah, and not only that from Benson, another component of the forward line was JJ Paterka, who had
He
one
looked
goal,
really good.
5 shots,
So
really
fast.
I wouldn't
Exactly.
say only
So
one
fast.
goal, the shootout goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you. That was his second, which doesn't count on the box score or whatever. Counts in our hearts.
Mhm.
Counts on- But he had the nifty breakaway for his first goal. Second goal got in the shootout, got us ahead. Really great. Again, JJ Paterka, who's been in here for a year already, has some experience under his belt. I think Justin mentioned it pre-show. Breakaway player this year. I think this might be our guy.
I think Tyson Jost looked really good as well.
As well, yeah.
I think he had his
Jordan Greenway,
comeback.
too.
Right, his comeback here last year. I think he played exactly how you'd want a third or fourth liner to
Yeah.
play. I mean, he didn't make any crazy nifty plays, and he was a first round pick. But he was where the IQ is there. He was where he needed to be. He was getting pucks on the net. I mean, he had a tip. I don't know if he got credit for the goal. I think it ended up going to Benson.
Yeah, that ended up
but
going
he
to
got a
Benson,
piece of it as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's just in the right spot at almost every time. I know it's just one preseason game, but that's a really good start. For the
What a
Sabres.
waiver pickup he ended up being.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Tyson Yost, like I said, Jordan Greenway as well, putting up some pretty good stats. So our offense doing great. I also wanted to bring up Jacob Bryson too, who had the most playing time with 23 minutes.
Ryan Johnson played well too.
Exactly. Yeah. So and again with those kind of ratings too, our defense has been a pretty big topic in the offseason where again you have Darlene, Owen Power. When Samuelson's healthy, he's really good.
Yeah.
And then kind of like past that, I know I'm probably leaving out really important players, but past that, again, it was really big question mark because I think that's where we ended up losing a lot of our games.
Right.
High-powered offense and a lackluster defense.
I'm really intrigued to see where Ryan Johnson slots in.
I think he's ready.
Yes.
I think he's ready too. I mean, I watched him last year against Canisius.
Right,
Golden Griffins and the Frozen Four play. He looked good then, and he looked just as good now. He's not crazy with the puck. He doesn't have incredible hands, but he's smart. He's again
5 block shots this year.
right, exactly, and that's something the Sabres need.
Exactly.
A guy who's going to sit there and take it. That's,
Put
that's it.
yourself on the line for it.
And when he was on the ice, the Sabres outscored the Capitals 2-0
Yeah.
with 5-on-5 plays. I mean that's a net positive right there.
Yeah, really, like I said, really great stuff from Ryan Johnson. Especially again, we're looking to pick up new people since the Ilya Lyubushkin trade in the offseason. Again, I was surprised that we didn't end up giving away more people or trying to find some trade somewhere to pick up someone new. But again, if we're trying to find from these picks, I think Ryan Johnson's
The goalie situation too.
exactly the goalie situation is pretty interesting as well. I think Eric Comrie was in the game for a little bit. Am I correct?
Takarsky.
Yeah.
Yes,
Takarsky actually had the game saving
Yeah.
in
Yes,
overtime.
Takarsky
Great,
really did
and it was
that.
a breakaway. In
Yeah, it was a
overtime.
breakaway,
He got
yes.
him, but Comrie had 19 saves and 21 shots. Takarsky had 10 saves and 11 shots.
Mhm.
I thought both played pretty well. I don't think Takarsky's really in the mix for
No,
backup.
yeah.
He's more of a Rochester guy,
Reserve,
but
yeah.
but is it going to be Comrie? Is it going to be UPL? We don't know.
That I was just about to ask. I was like, yeah, what do you guys think between? What do you think, Deshaun? Yeah.
Sadly, I don't watch anything about hockey, but I have to get back into it.
That's all right.
That's something that I really wasn't a part of growing up. So
Fair
when
enough.
I hear about this, I see hockey as ice football to me
Yeah,
because
sure.
you're able to go out there. I like penalties. Yes, I like penalties. I like people getting hit. So I want to definitely get into it and learn more about the Sabres because I know that they're a very entertaining team. And I know Sabres fans are just like Bills fans. They're very exciting to be around. So hockey is an interesting sport. And I'm just very into
Absolutely.
the conversation, listening to what you guys are saying. So go back, please.
Don't worry, BSI fans, we're gonna make a GoFundMe to send Deshaun to his first game. Make that happen. But no,
I've
so-
actually been to a couple. I've been to Penguins games before because I
Okay.
lived in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
That-
I know that they're not quarters, they're periods. I know about hockey, like people on ice. And I was really intrigued
Right.
when you were talking about the person who played 23 minutes because hockey is not like football where you get a couple seconds off the field unless there's turnover on downs. Yeah, you're just going
Couple
back and
minutes at a
forth
time
on the
for defense.
ice. So testament to that person playing 23 minutes. That's
Absolutely.
but yeah,
Lots
go
of
back in
care.
that conversation. Y'all
So-
doing great.
What about the recent rumors with Zegras and obviously Kane? But
Tell me about it.
I mean, there's interest apparently from
to pick up Zegras for us.
yeah, well, to trade for.
But for how much? See, that's the thing.
It would probably
For
be
any, for any player with like Kane's a free agent, right? Like,
Yeah,
So I mean,
he won't
Kane's
be
gotta
back
sign-
until I think December with the Sabres.
Exactly for Zegras. Like, what would we have to give?
I saw a
That's-
mock trade. It was Middlestat, Oslin, and a first-round pick, which is like I would say.
Really for
I don't know.
Zegras, sure.
It's just tough because
Very good
he's
player, but
he's a one-way player. I mean, you know him for his
Highlight.
like mids,
Yeah.
but I think Anaheim offered him between like 3 and 4, which is disrespectful. That is incredible for a guy who's gonna be a franchise player in your
Yeah.
team. But I just don't know where he fits. You run into the same question. But if anyone has the assets to move, it is the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting conversation.
There's still
to
room
have.
for that last forward slot. I'm just
That's
saying.
true. That's true. Like I
Yeah.
said, in Zegras, I mean, Zegras will get it for sure.
No one has really separated themselves. A lot of people are speculating that Rusek will take up that last spot.
Mm.
He's played fine, but and another guy we didn't even mention was Matthew Savoy, who's out to injury.
Thank you. Yes. And then we did we get talk about Coolidge as well?
Cool.
Yeah,
He had a shot
Coolidge.
on that. He hit the post last night, but
Yeah.
nothing else.
Nothing else.
Obviously, an exciting prospect.
Yeah, really excited to talk more about Sabres on Wednesday's show as well, though, because again, they do face the Bruins tomorrow night at 7 at home for some preseason game. Really excited for it. We're going to be going out and covering that eventually. Really excited.
We'll have
for
a
it.
special reporter for that.
That's what I'm saying.
Justin
More Sabres content coming your way. Stay tuned. And again, Wednesday as well, we'll be live 3 p.m. to talk more about the Bills, the Dolphins. Super hype about it. But again, thank you guys very much for joining us on BSI. If you like what we do, make sure to check out BuffaloSportsInsider.com and follow all of our social media to stay up to date on everything sports everything Buffalo. Thank you for the questions today as well. Always make sure to keep in line with that. Throw it down in the chat. Throw stuff at us on social media as well. We'll just do our best to answer it. But again, thank you guys very much for being here. I'm KJ Delzinski, Deshaun Francois, Colton Pankowitz, and Justin Cjack. Have a great rest of your week. Go Bills, go Sabres, go Buffalo. I love it. Have a good one.